Engagement and ownership, one model of student use using the iPads or iPods. So we need some basis to start. So we're going to rely on Bloom's taxonomy. We're looking at students working lower order thinking skills, and we're trying to get them to move up through engagement, through ownership of their own learning, to move up through the higher order thinking skills. So let's start out with lower order thinking skills, understanding, remembering. The students have their iPod. On it, they have the iBooks application. In there, we can load up all sorts of PDFs that we've created for them to use. In particular, we're looking at this little one here. Because the text is a bit bigger, made especially to read on the iPod. And it has very simple instructions here, trying to keep it down to like 2 instructions per page for each step to work through. Could probably break it down to be even simpler, or you might want to go and use pictures if you've got specifically low literacy kids. So step 2, step 3, step 4, and we've kept it fairly simple. Just those 4 steps for the students to look at, and remembering they can go back to any stage. So normally each step is 1 week's work or 1 session's work. So they don't have to remember all 4 steps, they just have to remember those 1 or 2 key points. So we're going to start having a look at trying to move the student up. So they're there at the remembering the understanding stage. How are we going to move them up with this activity? Specifically, I think this one ties closely into the understanding part of knowledge acquisition. So if we have a look at what that means, there's a lot of words there that we're looking at. Now these are Bloom's taxonomy, but key verbs from a digital point of view. So this is the work done by Andrew Churches, where he's gone through, revised Bloom's taxonomy, keeping the ideas there, but seeing how they tie specifically in a digital environment. So the words we're looking at, interpreting, comparing, explaining, advanced searches, and commenting, fit into the understanding part of knowledge acquisition. So how does this work with this program? Advanced search. So we're simply searching the store using some chosen tags. Now tags become the important part and make an advanced search over just a basic brute force type search. Now the student has worked with a teacher. With the teacher, they've identified their weakness, taken ownership of it, and said, this is what I need to work on. And with the teacher, they need to go through and actually write down some tags or some key words that they'll use in their search. So when they actually go and start searching through the App Store, because you can search with the tags, with the keywords, not just with the names, and you come up with some descriptions. So their job there is to filter through those descriptions, either looking at the words, looking at the screenshots, and seeing if the key features they've identified, the keywords, the tags, are in there. The second part verb they were looking at was comparing. They start looking at their selected apps. So here we have an example of 2 apps that might have come up if they're looking for maths apps. So then they make the decision between these 2, which one they feel is best suited to them. Based on a variety of things, it's their comparison. Interpreting. So we're interpreting the data, interpreting what other people have said. How do we do that? Well, each of these apps will have reviews. Not all of the apps, most apps have reviews. And in here, we can actually go and see how other people have written, and now remember, these are written in other people's language. These aren't the business side, this is anybody, anywhere in the world, reviewing this app. So they're going to interpret other people's ideas and see whether they tie in to the things they were looking for. Commenting. So here we're going to get the students specifically to create a pro and con chart with their own comments, and also rating the things. So we're using an app called T-Charts. T-Charts is quite simple. All they have to do is write down the pros or the cons of a specific app. All you do is tap on the word pro, it will prompt you, you type it in, and then you give it a rating. How important to you do you feel this pro or this con is? So you can see here there's some examples. We'll give them 5, give them 2, give them 1, depending on their own ideas. Once they finish with that, with a variety of apps, 2, 3, depending on what level of people at or how many you've asked them to do, it's time to start explaining. Now this is a conversation with the teacher about specific apps that they've chosen, looked at, decided upon, and why it will be the benefit to their learning journey. What app do they use for this? They don't. They just talk with the teacher, show them their T-charts, maybe run through some of the descriptions or whatever, or show them some of the apps if they've got some versions that they've downloaded. It's a dialogue between the teacher and the student. So let's have a look at the two of those apps. First, we'll have a look at a numeracy app. This is simple and mental arithmetic, but it does have character recognition. So here, they choose the questions, they choose what operands and the level they want to be. And it comes up with some questions. Instead of just choosing it, you need to actually type in the number yourself. Now, luckily this one here is a free app. So it's very simple. So we allow the students to download any free apps or any light version of apps that might give them a taste so they get a better idea of it, to have a little play and see what it says, what it does. And this helps the student in understanding how the description and the actual game itself may or may not tie up in their reading. Now, one of the important things is there's not much point in doing this unless we can track their progress. To make it as simple as possible, most of the apps we have, a bit of a mistake there, so you get my 6 drawn right, didn't recognise it, they have some kind of feedback at the end. We want the kids to keep a record of this. Now, quite simply, low literacy, don't have to worry about that. Don't feel like writing, don't feel like having that chore at the end of some fun session. When they simply get to the end, you can see I did make that mistake on purpose there, because I wanted to show you, you get 3 tries to get the right question on this. 10 out of 10. So all you need to do is take a screen capture of that, which is simple 2 buttons, it saves that picture. So as simple as that, that's the first app. The literacy app we're looking at is Grammar Express. Grammar Express make quite a few little apps. This one here is the parts of speech. So I can choose verbs, the number of questions it's going to ask. Now this is once again a light version, costs nothing. It's limited to there's only 100 different questions that can be asked. In the paid version there's 3,000 different questions that can be asked. So it's quite simple. The student here reads a sentence and chooses what they feel is the correct answer. So as they progress through, there's no specific feedback right now. They're going through, trying to figure out what they're doing. You see down the bottom there's a little tiny blue slider bar that moves across faster and faster as they go to give them a bit of pressure. And here we actually get a bit of feedback showing you what you chose and what you actually got right or wrong. So once again, we can save those results. You can see up the top right hand side there's an email button. You can email those results to the teacher, or later on you'll see how you can email them onto your own blog. Or if we want to rely on something a bit simpler, we could do a screen capture. Here it might require 1 or 2 screen captures to get the whole thing in. So there's the 2 apps. This day what I'd like you to do is explore some of the apps in your iPod and just have a look at how they could be used. Now remember, as you're doing this, use the 2 buttons to do screen capture. So it's holding down the home button and tapping the sleep button on the top of the device. If you're unsure, you don't know which apps to look at, sums or parts of speech, you can just play with those apps that I've just shown you. So that's how we move on. So not forgetting, this original idea came from a wonderful guy, Jonathan Nalder. There's his Twitter handle, and he's been using this before iPods with other portable devices with a lot of success with the students in his school. So now we want to move the students. We've seen how they're there at knowledge acquisition, understanding. So we want to go up the next level to knowledge deepening. Now in here we've got applying and analysing. 3 apps here which I think really move people up fast actually don't have anything to do with playing games or actually rote type stuff on here. It's all about getting their ideas out of their minds and somewhere publish them. Posterous, Tumblr and WordPress. It's actually Pictoposterous. It's probably the simplest, easiest way to start getting stuff out there and published. Tumblr is that in-between one, and WordPress probably more for a higher level student that's done a bit of blogging before, understands how to manage a blog site. So for example, this is a Posterous site. This is managed by she's 5 years old, just turned 6, and it's simply a matter of hitting the button. You can choose the video or you can choose the photograph to put up there, and you can also add a little bit of text that goes with it. At the moment, she just adds the pictures, chooses the pictures and adds them in there. A Tumblr site, this is a Tumblr site I use to get information to my kids. It's quite simple. I can go to the Tumblr site and I can type things in. I've got a little button on my browser. Anytime I get to a website that looks interesting, I tap that and it automatically puts that onto my Tumblr site. Or using the iPod, I can simply hit the Tumblr button and choose a variety of text or whatever to add to it. It's a very simple blog, but like most of these things, you can add more richness to it. And just to show you the WordPress, what sort of level can manage this. This is a WordPress site managed by a 10-year-old. And you can see here it's got pictures once again, but a little bit more text is coming in here now. And we can put videos in there, and we can put some pictures found from the internet, and we can put some videos taken from whatever device. But this is managed, like I said, by a 10-year-old, mostly from the iPod, but some of it comes in, actually comes in sometimes, and does some editing on the computer, just to add some of that richness or that formatting that you don't quite get on the iPod. But it means free to do this, and also you do need a web connection to update, but you can always do these things in what they call a offline mode, and then when you get established contact with a Wi-Fi again, off you go and it updates it for you. So moving students up, we'll put like some sort of blog, some sort of way they can put down, these are things I've found, these are things I've done. So it could be in conjunction with those apps we saw, and I'm saying I've done this, and talking about it or writing about it using a variety of tools. There's a few more, but they're 3 that I've had some success with. Now, before we start publishing, you probably want the kids to start thinking about actually what they're doing. And in this program, what we actually get them to do, they don't worry about publishing to anywhere apart from the iPod itself, and we use Sonic Pics. It does allow some bit of applying, that is showing what they've got, and also analysing to start talking about things and how they do it. Sonic Pics is rather simple. When you open up the little program, it's presented with the projects that are on that particular iPod. This one happens to have a variety. You give it a title, so you know which one you want to come back and edit later on. And once you give it a title, a description is good. You'll notice here it does have the auto correction facility, so if you are having some troubles with your typing, it will correct that for you. Once we go here, we tap on the little button marked Add, and that'll take us to what we want to add, which is the photographs. Now in here, we can see at the moment there is no images in the project. It's set for a recording quality of better. They're adequate. So here we are. It takes us straight to the camera roll, the photographs on here. So if you've been pressing the screen capture, the photos will be in there. Down the bottom you can see 4 images in the project. Each time you tap on one picture in here, it adds that in. If you accidentally add in an extra photograph at this stage, don't worry about that. Don't panic, just leave it in there. Once you've chosen it, hit done. We can see here now I've chosen 4 images. The 4 images are in there in the order they want. If I wanted to move them, I simply tap and hold on the picture and drag to the position in the row that I want. When I think, yes, that's all the photographs I want, I can add more, but I hit record. And then down the bottom, it says tap here to begin recording. So you hit that little button, and then it will present you with the slideshow that you've got. As you talk, it records your voice. If you're using an iPod, you'll need to put in a microphone onto it. If you're using the iPhone, you've got a built-in microphone. So once you actually tap that button, it'll simply just present you with the image of your podcast or whatever it is right there for you to start. So it's fairly simple. So number 1, make sure you have your photographs saved. Number 2, choose the photographs you want. Number 3, tap the record button to start recording, and then you're away. Once the students have done this, they can save that and they can view that with you later on, and you might want to investigate the ways of putting that up onto your into your podcast or your blog. So what were the benefits of this program? Number 1, the portability of the iDevice. That is, they can take this anywhere, they can go off by themselves, and they can take this around, not lugging huge equipment or anything like that. Everything they need is in their hand, ready to go. They have ownership of the process because that is their device. So in this case, it's a withdrawal system, so the students come out of the normal class, get their iPod, which has their history there, what they've been doing on, takes it off, does what they've decided, comes back with it. So there's ownership of the process there. One of the great things about the iPod, because it is a single use device, or a single app use device, unlike a computer where you might be off doing 4 things at once, the student focuses on that one thing at one time to do that. And we're letting them loose to search the App Store to find apps. The beauty is it is a curated ecosystem, and Apple are very firm on what they will and will not allow into the actual Apple Store. So you can be fairly safe in letting the kids search that. You can even set ratings on what sort of rating of apps they will have. So, thank you.